Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza. We are coming to you live right now. It is 9:09 Best Coast time, and I'm so sorry if you're on the East Coast, but you're probably asleep or you're seeing this the day after. No worries. It's perfectly fine either way. I'm so stoked that you're here because we have a amazing guest. I have been waiting to talk to her for so long, and we're going to get to her in just a second. But first, let's chat about a few things. First and foremost, if you wouldn't mind giving us some love over on all of our Grappling Hour channels, it's pretty simple. You just go to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, all those different places. Go give us some love. And if you wouldn't really be too hard-pressed, we love a 5-star interview that gets a 5-star rating. I'm just saying. I'm not saying like this is already a 5-star interview, but it could be. And when it is, you're going to feel really foolish that you didn't give us a 5-star review over on the Apple Podcast page. Not important. What is important? Our guest today, I mean, she's kind of running the game at Submission Underground. Let's just be clear. Let's call a spade a spade. You've seen Chael say so many nice things about her that even Chael is starting to kind of be at a loss for words. And not many people say that about Chael Sonnen. Nobody ever thinks, man, Chael, that thesaurus really isn't working for him. I gotta tell you, I have been a huge fan of what she has been doing. She has been an assassin on the circuit. Every time you see her on a card, you are stoked to see her. You know that it's going to be a good card. You know that it's going to be amazing. And you know that she's going to give a spectacular performance. And I think the thing that has interested me the most is that no matter how many times you see her win, you always see her super nice, super friendly. She's always just like, as soon as they hand her the belt, she kind of has her hands right in front of her. It's just like, thank you. Like, I was like, girl, you just killed somebody and you're the most calm person in the room. And that's how you know you have a true silent killer. Well, I'm excited to talk with her. Ladies and gents, joining us for the very first time, please welcome to the show, one, Amanda Loewen. Amanda, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I have to tell you, I was mentioning this off air, but I really do feel it. It is in my bones. We have been waiting to do this interview for so long, and I've kept putting it off just because I kept thinking, like, maybe Submission Underground will give her a one-off, and she'll get some time to go ahead and relax. But they have been putting you to work. How long have you been competing on Submission Underground?
I feel like the first match that I had was maybe 2017, 2016, something like that. Yeah. Liz Tracy was the first match I had. So, yeah. And then it's just been ever since.
How has it felt to get that platform? Because I'm sure back in 2016, 2017, you know, people get so stoked for that first exposure, but what does it mean now to be on that card?
I'm very appreciative. I think it's been kind of nice because I'm local, and I've kind of built up a name here. So it's maybe easier for them to have me on as well. But I think it's really, really neat just to be able to compete anywhere at this point in the world. I don't know. I'm stoked on it.
So let's talk about your most recent performance. I was telling you this off air too. We normally do these fight companions, and we have a rule, which is we give toasts to those people who get finishes within regulation. You've had a number of toasts from us and our crew, and all of the people who watch with us love you and what you're doing.
I don't know why. Whoops, sorry, the phone decided to.
Oh, you're good.
I don't think my performance I don't know. It's not up to par with how I want to perform. So, but I do think it's very sweet that you guys are so supportive and stuff.
I mean, let's put it this way. We're all our own worst enemy when it comes to critiquing our performance. We always want to go out there and be better than we were the last time. And there's always more pressure that we put on ourselves. But let's be clear. You went out there, you had a fun match with Roxanne Modafferi, and I gotta tell you, the best part about a match like that is nobody needs to be a heel. Like, nobody needs to be a bad person. We just like both of you. So I go, yeah, on paper, I'll watch that. They're both badass. That's awesome. So how did that come together, and what did it feel like to get her as an opponent?
I think we were supposed to have been scheduled like a few months ago, but because of the whole COVID thing, we had to reschedule it. But I don't know, just to compete against these women that have been in the game for so long and that are like really good role models as well. I don't know, it's very humbling. Like I don't go in and like think, they're not slackers by any means. So like none of these women are like chumps, So I take every match like very serious and with a lot of respect. Yeah, because we've both been training for a very long time. So it's just very exciting to be able to like have that opportunity with these women. So yeah.
Did she play like you thought she was going to play in that match?
I had no idea. I didn't know what she was going to try and do. I try and focus on like what I'm going to do, because if I focus on somebody else's game, then I feel like that's when a lot of people get, they slip up a little bit. But going in there and obviously having respect for her because she is a black belt, but also having the confidence and like, okay, like I feel like very confident in what may seem like very awful positions to a lot of people, but I don't know. I don't have to fight my coaches, so I feel pretty good, in some pretty bad positions.
So as the match was going on, what was your general feeling about what she was putting out there?
Oh, I have a tendency to think a lot while I'm competing sometimes, which is like maybe it's not the it's not the best. Um, there were a lot of things that I did that I was like, why would you do that? You like dingus, like you never do that in training. Like, why would you try that now? But it was also kind of fun because she allowed me to like work things that like I know that I need to work on now and drill more. So I don't know whether you win or lose, like you take a lot from those matches and hopefully become a better, competitor, just better grappler in general. So yeah.
All right.
But she had very good posture, and I don't know. I was stoked on her. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to acknowledge that too, because it's kind of weird. Like, you get used to seeing her fight so often, and she has a weird fight posture, from my opinion, but it works for her. Like, she's made it work in ridiculous scenarios where you'd go, I don't think that's going to work for this person. And yet, I think part of the value of her is people have underestimated her so many times that now it's dumb to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in that case, though, when you mention that you're self-critical, though, do you find that you go to rewatch those matches? Do you ever go back to listen to what Chael said? Or do you just kind of put it out there and say, like, all right, I'm putting this in a boat and it can sail into the sea and I'm never watching this again?
I usually do that. I put it in a boat and I watch it just burn and go away. Uh, but I like will watch some of the highlight stuff. But I do need to go back and rewatch some of my matches because it is really important. And not only from like my perspective, but obviously like, even my students or coaches' perspective, the things that I did really well, are important to point out. And then obviously the things that I can improve on, too. But yeah, I can be a little too self-critical sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, that's good to know, too. I've told people that for as much as I like watching tape study, or even whenever I do these things, I want to watch other stuff. Like, I like me a lot, but, like once I'm done here, I don't want to rewatch these things just to see how good I am. I try to make it like a study where I do watch it and I just make notes of, okay, I got to do this, or I got to go back and do that. So I know it's not the funnest thing in the world to do. The difference is when you do your stuff really well, those things tend to go pretty viral. And I think that you've benefited from going viral a number of times. I mean, we've seen arm bars from you. We've seen heel hooks from you. I have to ask these questions, but like, at what point did you kind of feel like you were starting to get a solid armbar? Because when I see you put that on a number of people, I'm very jealous. My armbar's not that good. Yours look great.
Thank you. I don't know. I've been practicing them for a long time, and I think it's something that, like, if you want to be good at something, you kind of obsess over it a little bit. And I don't know. I see I don't know, I find an armbar anywhere. Like any space you want to give me, like I'll eventually find it. Unfortunately, Submission Underground like only allows 5 minutes. I would love to do more like no time limit submission only. I think that's like some of the purest like jujitsu out there, you know, because like I've said it before, but like when you get tired, you are left with whatever jujitsu you actually possess. And so these like time matches, you know, it's like going to overtime. I freaking hate going to overtime. But it is, you know, it is what it is. But yeah.
I will say, and you've got a pretty good poker face, but I have seen that in your face when you're competing, when you kind of like, you're blank, and then they get to overtime and you go, yeah, all right, let's just do this. So I feel that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm there with you.
Know, and I know the fans want to see like, you know, more stuff happen in regulation. Like I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. I'm not just trying to like ride the time out. But yeah, 5 minutes goes by like very quickly, you know?
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the idea of, you know, you've had this from Submission Underground. It's been great success. Have you had people kind of message you or recognize you based off of those performances? And have any of them surprised you because you're not just in these big spots, you're delivering a number of the times. And I know that's a pretty big net that they cast for not just regular jiu-jitsu lovers, but like the casual or the occasional jiu-jitsu lovers. It is pretty cool that you have that exposure to them.
Yeah, just like random people messaging me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get like a few messages like after I compete and stuff, and it's very sweet, you know. Having people tell me like, oh, we watched you and we're, you know, so proud, or we liked your performance. And normally I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people aren't watching it because I'm on the card. Like they're watching it because like Mason Fowler just keeps like, you know, submitting everyone and killing it and stuff.
Very clear.
Or obviously
I know
like
Mason.
Craig Jones. I mean, if Craig Jones is on there, everyone's going to watch because friggin' Craig Jones, you know, he's kind of good.
I'll be
he's
clear
second
about
best,
this, though.
But he's kind of good. I'm just kidding.
I'll be clear about this. That's a great joke, though. Good job. I'll be clear about this. If I had to pick between watching you or Mason, I'm picking you. And I will tell that to his face because I will tell you this. There was a photo op that you and him had where you're just kind of like, oh, maybe if I'm good, I'll just get to hold the belt kind of a thing. And I was like, yeah. Whoa, first off, no. Second off, I was like, we don't need to inflate his ego any more than the air pump that he pumps to it. So you're okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So what do you think is the next step for you in Submission Underground? Have they had rumblings about putting you on the next card? Is it just an assumption now at this point where they just go, well, you're clearly coming back, right?
They have, we have like talked about a possible future opponent. I might end up taking this next card off just because like it's really hard to get better when you're just kind of like doing your A game the whole time. So it would be nice to be able to correct my mistakes and actually be able to implement some new stuff into my game before the end of this month, which is, I mean, it's already April, which is bananas. But possibly something in May would be really neat. I got to feed these dogs, you know, I got to like keep the money coming so that they get fed.
When you say dogs, I'm going to take that as a literal, you have dogs that are
I literally have dogs. Yes. Well, I have Moose somewhere. He's hanging out around here somewhere. But yeah, I just got a new puppy that I get to pick up in a couple weeks. Thanks, Submission Underground. It's going straight to that puppy. So that's what I spend my money on is dogs.
You know what? I gotta tell you, my wife would be a huge proponent of this. We are very much looking, I think probably in the next year, of getting another dog. We have a nice little French bulldog, and we're very much looking forward to getting a second dog. But I would tell you this, if I won Submission Underground, I wouldn't have a choice. I'm pretty sure the wife would be like, we're getting a dog with that money. So I feel like the paths are very similar. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a little pit bully, and I'm getting another Rottweiler. Well, I had a couple Rottweilers, but they had passed away. But yeah, so this will be Moo's little brother. Very excited. Yeah.
Why don't they put that in a promo package? We need to tell Heather that needs to be in the next promo package. It's like, make her compete so that she can get yet another dog. She got to feed the dogs. She's got to get more dogs.
Well, I gotta get, yeah. My goal is a house for the dogs. A big old dog house. So, yeah. One day it's gonna happen.
I gotta tell you, I liked you before, but I really, really like knowing how you're spending your money.
It's not a joke. Winning. I'm like freaking dead serious. I'm dead serious. Yeah, everything I do is for the dogs and my cat. I love my cat too, but yeah, the dogs.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. I want to get into your origin story. So, where does jiu-jitsu begin for you? Where do you find jiu-jitsu in your life?
So I moved to Portland in 2007. And then eventually I worked at this tropical fish store that was around the corner from a gym. And I would walk past it like on my lunch break. And I thought they were doing karate for a long time. And I was like, I should probably do karate. I don't know. It just seemed like really cool. They were all in like really off-white, ugly gis. And I was like, yeah, all right, tight. So eventually I walked in and yeah, I talked to a couple of the coaches and I started training. And it was, still very like old school. It was like, all right, you take a class and then you roll. And I was like, I have no idea what this rolling is. But I consider myself like a very stubborn person as well. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come back and whatever they did to me, I'm going to do to them. And then that was it pretty much. Like I quit my jobs and I quit going to school and I was like, this is it. I got to make it work somehow. So 11 years later, here I am. Yeah.
Okay. So, I have questions based off of this. What were you going to school for?
I wanted to be a zoologist. I wanted to do like wildlife rehabilitation. And then I kind of realized that I had to be like more compassionate towards people. And sometimes that is very difficult to get things done for the animals that I like a little bit more. And nobody wants to do anything until it's too late anyway. So I was like, well, fuck this. I'm just going to do jiu-jitsu.
Now,
it just seemed better. I don't know.
Were you playing sports in your youth? Was that something that you had found?
I did. I did like a really terrible soccer when I was in elementary school. I wouldn't even call that playing a sport. Like my dad coached the team a little bit, and I'm pretty sure that was the only reason I was on the team. It's because my dad helped coach. But yeah, I didn't play any sports in high school. I wanted to, but just like some family circumstances, I just wasn't able to. So yeah, I do not consider myself like athletic by any means. Yeah, so that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu, right? It's literally for anyone. You don't have to be super athletic because, boy, I tell you, I know you've seen some students out there like, what have you done in your life? Not that much, but jiu-jitsu.
I mean, I'm that student too. I will not lie about that. I've always told people, there was a big joke that was happening when the pandemic hit where people who were really like good and athletic all of a sudden started complaining to me and they go, oh, it's jiu-jitsu is weird right now. And I was like, I'm going to let you in on a secret. You're now like me. So you're kind of screwed and you don't know how to handle it. And I've lived in this world forever. So welcome. It sucks, but maybe work on a sweep and learn something better there. So
exactly.
We had a lot of very, very fun times about those things. So the reason why I asked that is because when you say that it kind of finds its way into your life when you're about to go to college or you're in college and you decide to push your studies aside, it does come potentially as a shock to other people. Were other people in your life at all taken aback that you were doing this, especially if you didn't have that athletic background? Or did people go, I always knew it. Yep, she was going to find it someday.
I think my family, my mom was just like, I don't know about all this fighting stuff. Like she just like wasn't entirely sure, but she was like very supportive, and she still like continues to be very supportive. It's very funny, like seeing her posts and stuff, and how she still spells jujitsu, which I find hilarious. But yeah, I didn't have too many friends that like I moved up here with, and so it was just kind of, I felt like very much like on my own. So finding people that also seem very like-minded was very comforting, and I just I felt at home. Um, and jujitsu is kind of like the never-ending problem to solve, which I really liked. I'm like, I can just like keep getting better at this. Like if I just keep doing it, like I'm not going to get worse, hopefully, right? Like you always just like keep improving, and you're always simplifying stuff. So I really enjoy the process.
I sometimes liken it to doing a crossword puzzle to people. When they ask me if I do those things, I go, no, I kind of do the human version of it. Granted, they're trying to murder me, so I don't
Yeah.
know that the New York Times crossword does that to you, but this one's similar. It's going to keep my brain sharp as we get older.
Yes.
Having said that, you said that you moved. Where were you moving from?
So I moved up to Portland, Oregon from Fresno, California. Yeah. So anything was better than that. If you've ever been to the Central Valley. But yeah, so I've been up here ever since.
That's very nice. So you find your way there. I always ask this question to people because I am genuinely curious about it. But the question is this: when did you actually fall in love with jiu-jitsu? Because it takes a lot to make you push other dreams aside or push other interests aside, or even to just do this and really love it while at the same time making it a career, making it a passion. So when did you actually fall in love with the sport?
I don't know. It's been a long time, and I feel like it would be silly to say like right away, but I just remember doing like a few classes and then just being hooked. It felt so good. Like, I don't know, fighting people is very interesting, and learning how to become like very patient and like comfortable in like very uncomfortable spots, because the guys that even some of the guys I still train with now, but definitely back then they didn't care, at all. So it's kind of survival of the fittest, which I still kind of like sometimes. I'm like, gotta weed them out, see who really wants it. But just kidding.
I mean, to be honest, though, it is kind of fun because it's not always the people you think it's going to be that stick around. Sometimes it's a nice little surprise. Like, I know we always like to say whenever a new person comes to the gym, it's like, I always knew this guy would stick it out. I'm the first to go up to somebody when I didn't expect them and say, gotta tell you, man, kind of a surprise you're still here, but I'm so glad you are. And,
Absolutely.
I've told a number of people that in my time.
That's good. Yeah, making better training environments too is important. Yeah.
So what was the first move that you kind of felt like you got? Because everybody comes in different waves, Everybody gets something that they feel is kind of the one that is their ownership at the very beginning. Do you have a submission that kind of found its way to you first, or one that you finessed over time that you said, this is my jam?
I feel like I used to do a lot more triangles. And I don't do as many triangles anymore. I think also I'm just like a little bit old and decrepit, and my knees are a little bit more sore. So sometimes I'm just, a little bit more lazy. But I think also things have changed a little bit more as far as like how I'm attacking. I really like omoplatas because omoplatas help set up arm bars. It's like underhooking with your legs, which I find like very important. But yeah, definitely, I think triangles were a big one. I was on a real like guillotine kick for a minute. And then I realized I kind of sucked at guillotines. So I kind of moved on to some other things. Yeah.
So you said that you mentioned that you found a gym. Was that the gym that you ended up staying with? Where did your journey kind of take you?
Yeah. So I started out at a Straight Blast Gym in Portland, Oregon. And I was there for about 10 years or so. So I just, the past year and a half, I made the move to 10th Planet here in Portland, Oregon with Phil Schwartz. And it was a very, very good move. And I probably should have done it sooner, but here I am. Yeah.
Well, your game is interesting in that I feel it combines a lot of best of different worlds. So when you say that you've only been at 10th Planet for a little while, I think some people watching this who may be more familiar with you with Submission Underground think 10th Planet makes sense. Totally see it. Structurally, I see things that you do that I go, It is a mix. It is a good hybrid because sometimes I see your fundamentals as so sound. I think that's part of the reason why when I asked what your first thing that you got, you said triangles, and yet watching your transitions even from triangles to arm bars to omoplatas tells me like, oh, that's where that progression maybe came from. Like that's how you started to kind of evolve and see different parts of your game as you were exploring different things.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm thankful for a lot of the coaches at SBG that kind of gave me obviously like my foundation and a giant portion of my jujitsu. Yeah, the fundamentals are my favorite part of jujitsu because without those, like you have nothing. It doesn't matter like the 27-step move. If you can't trimp, if you can't like build a proper structure, then you're not going to be able to be able to do anything. So I definitely, yeah, in a lot of my matches, maybe you can see, yeah, I feel like I always fall back to like good defense, that defense sandwich. If you don't have defense, you have nothing. That's your bread for your sandwich. Yeah.
Hold on. You called it a defense sandwich. Now,
yeah, defense, offense, defense. The offense is in the middle. It's really good.
This is phenomenal because I have been nicknamed by many of my training partners Captain Defense. I have never come up with anything as eloquent or anything as easy to digest, I guess one could say. It's remarkable. Have you always said that?
Yeah. I have all sorts of like weird shit that I come up with. I'll tell you all of it.
I would love to hear a couple more. What are some other examples of that you have kind of coined?
Of defense sandwiches? I don't know. Well, now that I'm on the spot, I don't remember anything. So I have to look in some of my notes. I don't know. Lately, I've been really on just like being able to connect different postures and different positions together. Like my whole thing is like closed guard top is the same as mount bottom. Mm. When you think about it, it really is. I'm gonna put out so many DVDs. You just wait. One day.
I mean,
hopefully.
But for real, why hasn't that happened yet? Is that something that you're working toward? Because I feel there's an audience for it.
I'm working towards it. I'm normally very uncomfortable on film or like camera. Like this, this takes a lot, which is why I look so stupid on Submission Underground every time they try to give me a belt or something. I don't know what face to make, and then it just comes out like that emoji with like the weird side face. Yeah.
Can I tell you this, though? I think that your go-to when you are on camera is to actually be more professional than most other people. So most people you could see that sometimes they look fearful, sometimes they don't like the camera, some people love the camera too much. There's a nice mixture of everything. You actually have this wonderful poise that when they put it on you, you just kind of go, thank you. Like, you can tell that you're a polite person just by that. So while I'm sure it might be up here something that feels odd because it's on television and they make it oddly like it's pomp and circumstance, it's good to know that that's what comes out. Like, that's your true self that happens.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a like loud or boisterous person by any means, but yeah.
I can tell you this. So I used to be a speech and debate coach for people. So my whole job when I was in college was helping students find their way to perform. You'd be amazed how much that crosses over to the jiu-jitsu side. And there are so many different athletes. The first time I interview them, they don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know what to do. They're just like, I just choke people good. And
I just show up.
Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, I think the best thing you can ever do is find what it is that you like talking about. Jiu-jitsu happens to be one of them, and just really lean in on that. So when you have those nuggets of telling people like a defense sandwich, I'm like, well, I'll tell you this much. You're not seeing Mason Fowler on his DVD talk about a defense sandwich. So own that, love it, feel it, because I am curious to know what, if people have never taken a class with you, what are you like as an instructor?
I feel like I'm about the same. I try to be like very patient. That's important to me. I want like all my students to understand what I'm talking about. And I try not to give them too much, you know? I try to make sure that everything is like as simple as possible, even at like a seminar kind of thing. It's like people want to teach like so much stuff, you know, but I'd rather give like people things that they could take away like right away and like put them in their game. you know I don't know. uh I don't know, they're just gonna get me. They're gonna get like a good class, with hopefully some jujitsu that they can incorporate into their games right away. And if not right away, then maybe later, or at least like one little nugget. If that's like being able to pummel from Mount Bottom, which is like what we were kind of going over this week, like that's fantastic. How much longer can you survive in a role? So, yeah.
Were there any instructors that you looked at and you said, oh, they got it? Like, they're an instructor that I look at and maybe I'll model something after them, or sometimes it's the way they present, sometimes it's the way that they explain the move, or sometimes it's just their style. Was there somebody that kind of spoke to you when you were on the come up?
I mean, John Diggins was a big kind of like leader in my jujitsu. And then now definitely like Phil Schwartz, who is like my main coach. But just the way he explains things, and I'm just like, oh my God, every time, like, oh, it's amazing. And he'll give like a little short TED talk, and I'm just like, this is the best shit ever. I don't know. I'm always stoked to just like be there and like to learn, and like take classes. I don't know. I love it. And then rolling with like the little white and blue belts, it makes me really happy.
You and Phil were both on this card. How does it feel like to be on the same card with somebody who you spend so much time training with?
It's amazing. Like I love like the fact that like my coach is still competing, that like he's getting after it in the gym, and not only he's doing that, but like he's running a gym, and he's, coaching all of these people and doing so many other like projects and stuff. It's really neat, because I feel like so many other black belts, or even, I don't know, brown belt coaches, they get their belts and they stop like being in love with getting better. And they're just like, this is good enough, and you can kind of see their students become a little bit more complacent as well. And it's not that you have to compete, as a coach, to want to make your students get better. But I feel like putting yourself out there and letting them know that like, whether you win or lose, like that match does not determine the outcome of like the rest of your jiu-jitsu. So I really appreciate him just always like, yeah, being a leader of like the community. It's really important to me.
Now, you've been at a number of different grappling opportunities and events. Can you describe what it has been like without audiences from your standpoint? Because I don't know how you are in terms of, do you like the crowd? Do you miss the crowd? Or are you just kind of like, this is cool?
I kind of like not having a crowd. I mean, to be fair, I've done like some like MMA stuff, and that crowd is significantly different than like the submission under crowd, which I'm sure like you're well aware of. Like the submission under crowd with more jiu-jitsu people, they're just like way more polite. They're not just like yelling like, just punch her in the throat, it's more, like golf clapping and like more respectable things that are being yelled, like, great job. I don't know. So, but I do like not having a crowd. It's just like very quiet. What I do miss is having a coach, which I don't understand. None of this code shit makes sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fucking retarded, but why we should be able to have a coach.
Let's put it this way. At the very beginning, there was a weird mix of, we're going to try and follow COVID protocols, but also do what we want to do, that Submission Underground was doing. And I understand that. I get it. I sympathize with the athletes. What I can say, though, is as a guy who writes jokes, it is somewhat difficult when they'd say, all right, Kambach, they go have a match, and at the very end they're like, don't touch each other. And I'd go, well, they just spent a whole bunch of time essentially touching one another, and it's like, no shaking of hands, no, none of that. You can't do any of that. And I go, what does that even do? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
So I get it. I feel that, and I will tell you this. Part of the reason why I asked this is that I wonder if this is kind of a nice little time capsule, and that maybe in the future Submission Underground goes back to having audiences, because I'll tell you this much. This format with you guys being who knows where is kind of captivating to watch. I just like seeing you guys in a silo going at it, and it's kind of off to the world. Although I didn't know that they're still kind of harsh on the no coach.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I think it'll definitely be kind of more of like a time capsule, and eventually they'll get a crowd back in there because Oregon does have, like, I think a really big following, and I know a lot of the students would like love to be able to come and support their coaches and their teammates and stuff. So I think, yeah, definitely in the next, I don't know, we'll say pretend 6 months, maybe we'll start to have a crowd again.
I mean, that's the great stuff to think about is, we're talking about different sports, getting their people back, getting audiences back. I just never knew if that was something that even registered for you, because honestly, I feel like you thrive in this format. You seem very comfortable with no audience, and I've seen performers look like they're a little thrown when all of a sudden they get out there and they go, normally that'd be a huge cheer. Like what we saw from the past tag team jiu-jitsu match the other week was like, dude, that was very funny, but also with a crowd, that probably would have been the funniest thing I think any of us have ever seen.
Absolutely. That kind of, because we can't, I mean, yeah, I was going right after the tag team, so I didn't get to see what happened until it released on Instagram, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Whoops.
I have to tell you, I think I messaged all parties involved, because we know Ricky and we know Mike, and all I could say was, you know what, I think that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to tag team grappling. Like, without even trying, you guys probably made that the most captivating thing that has ever happened with two people grappling two people in a long time. So I definitely appreciate them putting that forward. But again, I do have appreciation for Submission Underground giving that presentation to you, and you made a mention of saying there are so many people who thrived in that format. One of the things I wanted to do pre-pandemic was I wanted to cover Submission Underground at some point. I normally cover all the SoCal stuff. If I'm not commentating it, I try to be there. But there's some hook of it. What is the secret sauce? Like, what is the secret of that community? Why are they so invested in jiu-jitsu, and what is the appeal for them in the Pacific Northwest?
There's a lot of really good grapplers here, and I think it's kind of like right in the middle of everything, where it's not too far away from California, it's not too far away from Arizona and Las Vegas, and so yeah, Chael wants to make it happen, so he does. Him and Heather do.
I mean, it's been really fun to watch them do all of that. If we look at kind of how things are going, I like always using a present tense because you're so active still. So there's not like an end cap of what we're doing. What, though, are the goals that you are looking to accomplish in jiu-jitsu in the future? Like, what are things that you have set for yourself that you said, I'd like to try and do this?
I've always wanted to do ADCC. So that's definitely a future goal. But I'll keep riding the SUG train until they throw me off. I don't know. I'm down for just about anything as far as jiu-jitsu goes. I'll fight anyone. I don't know. I've lost like a million times, so like losing doesn't scare me. Does that make, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just happy to be able to be healthy enough and compete, and I eventually, would like to open my own gym, and I want to make people better than I am. which is not that hard. I feel like it's not that hard to make students better than you if you're a good coach. So yeah, those are some of my goals.
Good goals. I would also ask this because you mentioned it earlier, and maybe I am forgetting things. Maybe I might be misplacing part of this, but have you had submission no time limit matches? And if so, where?
I've had one when I was a purple belt. It was very cool. It was like a dream tournament that they did in California. And they put me, because I was lazy, I didn't want to cut weight. And so I was just like a few pounds over, but they put me with Tammy Grigio, who's like a heavyweight black belt world champ, fucking like 20 times over. I had no idea who she was, but I rolled with her straight for over an hour. And then finally she got me. But I was like, it was like the coolest feeling ever. It just like felt so pure, and just like realized like I had some really good opportunities that I just didn't capitalize on because I was like way too respectful. You know, as a purple belt, you're like, oh, I have to roll with this black belt. And then somebody tells me like she's actually really good. I'm like, whoops, all right. But yeah, so that was a really cool experience. And then I've had some other matches that, 10 minutes, is, submission only stuff, but with OT rounds. But I would like to do, more just straight, no time limit.
Because I gotta be honest with you, it's kind of my favorite thing. Like, I am the kind of person who, when I train, will tell people to routinely throw out a clock. Like, I'm more of a, yeah, all right, that feels about good. I think we're done here. Because
absolutely,
I love the finality of it, and I like that there's no BS. I like the fact that, if you're gonna win, you're gonna win. Like, you beat me this time, and I know it, and it's not like I rolled out a few times and I feel pretty good about myself. It's like, no, this is a very nice thing. But when you mentioned that, all I could think of was, I was like, I mean, I'd like to see you at submission only, no time limit matches. I don't know who other is out there who would want to do those things. It's a particular type of person who really wants to live that life. But if they did, I'd love to see it. I feel like
there's a lot of women that would be down for that. I mean, they had like I think it was Lloyd Irvin a long time ago had that like BJJ Kumite at brown belt, and that was like really cool to watch. And then Phil Schwartz just was it last year or maybe the year before, he did the Shugio Invitational, and that was all like gnarly black belts and no time limit, submission only. And I know he's eventually planning another one. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. They're out there, but it is rare. It's like a unicorn, very rare thing to find.
Well, I've bugged him enough to make sure that I'm like, listen, dude, if you're not, you are. Like, now at this point, there's no going back. You got to make more of these because, and I don't like saying too many nice things about Phil. I would say this. I think he cracked an important code, which was he found a way to make a no time limit match digestible to an audience.
Yes.
And I think there's an audience there. I think they don't necessarily want to sit through it all per se in a TV time, but they definitely want to see it, and they definitely want to see how it results. And I said,
those episodes, that were released, those online chunks and stuff, like, you get the real nerds that come out that will, watch like the hour-long matches, taking notes on the side.
I mean, I remember telling Phil, and I'm sure he came up with this on his own. I don't want to take credit for any of that, but I remember telling him, I was like, I hope you release the individual matches, because I don't want to just see the Ultimate Fighter cut that's like performance highlights brought to you by this tire company. I was like, nah, dude. I was like, if Keith Krikorian's in a match, he has my attention. Like,
yes,
it's gonna be something compelling to watch. And if you tell me that they're going until one of them quits, I don't care who that person is. Any one of those 7 guys is somebody that I'd watch Keith compete with, and vice versa. So maybe, I don't know, it'd be cool if we got the ladies in there. I'm just saying, we always like seeing badass women go out there and do their thing. So if that is something that people are interested in, maybe they should tell Shugio Invitational and tag their favorite people. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there because I love that format. And the fact that you are game for it makes me so happy because it just means, oh, I know someone who's about that life. So now the next time I hear that, it's kind of like, well, we should get someone to make these things happen, because that's what makes jiu-jitsu super dope.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions here, because I feel like it's so cool to get a nice spectrum of what you have been through and what you've kind of accomplished. But I'm wondering now, you said that you take off Submission Underground, maybe this next one. Mm-hmm. What does the rest of 2021 look like for you? Like, what are you seeing happening this year for you?
Just trying to coach more. Obviously, train as much as possible. And then I might be hosting a little women's camp in Bend, Oregon in August. So we'll eventually release the details for that. But yeah, I want to try to travel and maybe teach some seminars a little bit more. So have me over for a seminar. You know what I'm saying? Anybody? It's pretty good. But yeah, I'm getting weird looks. It's fine. Teaching, training, it's just the regular, pretty much.
It sounds like a pretty good 2021.
I like it.
I'll tell you this much right now. Don't let anybody ever shake you with the looks of, I mean, listen, that's the stuff, that's the special sauce. That's what makes you you. That's why it's like, when you say, you know, this is weird to do these interviews, to me, I'm like, no, that's you. I get a feel of who you are. And hopefully when people watch these interviews, they get to know a little bit more of you. For example, I've seen here in the comments such as Dane Donovan saying, Amanda is such a gangster. He then said, I slid into her DMs, let her know she's a gangster. So I know Dane, and he's being a dummy about the way he's phrasing it, but he has watched a number of these things with us in the comment section, and he is a fan. And then Blanca just chimed in and said, Amanda is amazing, with a number of different muscle emojis, a gi, and an explosion. So with all those things being said, I am always pressed to ask, one of the last things that we like to ask people is, do you have any sponsors or people that you want to shout out who have helped you over let's say the past year, that you want to go ahead and give some acknowledgement to, or the people who helped you get ready for the last Submission Underground that you wanted to give a nice shout out to?
Oh man, everyone at 10th Planet Portland. Coach Phil, Coach Sam, Lena, Morgan, Nikki, Krista. I feel like I'm just going to screw it up and I'm going to forget everyone. So the whole team there that constantly is beating me up and training with me. Garden of Life, thank you for still sponsoring me. Really appreciate your products. Mind Your Mana, thank you so much for all the Fire Brew apple cider vinegar. And Daily Harvest, which is going to be my new sponsor, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Hey, sponsor me, give me food. And that's pretty much it. I don't have any other sponsors. Eager Ones, thank you for always making really great rash guards, especially for the last team event that I did. Warrior Rash Guard at Submission Underground. I love it. Thank you. Our Life CBD, who hooks me up with products sometimes. That's it, I think.
It's a nice little mix there. You took care of them quite nicely. I would tell you this, though. I like the fact that you brought in potential sponsor. Not many people do that, because not many people figure out, like, listen, I'm going to secret this bitch. They will be my sponsor. They will. They just don't know it yet. Because
I'm putting it out there. They keep liking my stuff on Instagram, and then I'm like, hey, when's that sponsor coming? You guys going to send me a box of smoothie stuff?
Let me put this out to those folks right now. I don't understand why you wouldn't sponsor. I mean, look at it like this. She's been crushing it on Submission Underground. She is willing to give you a submission-only, no time limit match, which, by the way, I haven't done the studies on this scientifically. Does take years off of the end of your life. But she's willing to do that, not only for the sponsorship, but to give you the kind of highlights that you'll love to see. Amanda, I gotta tell you, these people would be foolish not to sponsor you. I think that you're great. I think your jiu-jitsu is always captivating. You're always giving us fun things to watch. And I think, above all, I know, again, I can't press this enough, even though you feel like up here it feels weird, it is refreshing to see somebody just be themselves on there. and not try to play up to what they think people want. You're just you. And whatever that is keeping you just you, keep doing it, because that's the stuff that makes me sit there and go, I have to interview her. I have to talk to her. I have to get to know more of what it is that makes her unique in our sport. So keep that uniqueness, because it makes
Awesome.
you yourself a unicorn.
Thank you so much. This was an honor.
Oh, please, it's not. I'm going to tell you this much.
It is.
Well, Amanda,
I've been
now
on
you're...
like 2 podcasts, maybe 2. Yes, the Dojo Outfitters podcast, and probably I think just this one. So thank you. This is a great experience.
I have to tell you, Amanda, I make sure that I tend to be usually most people's first interviews. So I do my best to always make sure. And I actually looked up. I was like, I don't think she's been on too many podcasts. So I was really pleased when you said, I think it would be cool to do this, because some people in jiu-jitsu shy away from this sort of stuff for whatever reason. But for me, it's always like, why wouldn't you want to talk about jiu-jitsu? Jiu-jitsu's great.
That's the only thing I can talk about, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm sure when we eventually get you a dog podcast in the near future, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get you doing that. So, Amanda, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close up the end of this show, and I'm going to say bye to you off air, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to get to know you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching.
And ladies and gentlemen, that, of course, the incomparable one, Amanda Loewen. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. We have more content coming out this week. Kevin and I tomorrow should be recording the next episode of Verbal Tap that is going to be about Bellator, John Jones being crazy and now realizing he probably priced himself out of a division. It's a whole thing. Plus, later this week, we're going to have a fight companion. Our good friend, Joe Selecki, takes on Jim Miller, also kind of a friend of the show. Very excited for that one on the UFC on ABC prelims. So we'll be doing a fight companion for that, and I'm sure much, much more. So give us some love. All these different places, not just at Grappling Hour, also at Verbal Tap Cast. You know we love giving you guys more content. We love doing these things. Oh, and by the way, this is WWE BJJ week. So that means you will see new installments of crazy nonsense our friends has submitted to us, all for the honor of wearing a championship belt that we have customized and we are going to be sending out to this year's winner. So keep a lookout for that. Much love to you guys. It has been a blast. My name is Rafa Sparza. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.